Remax. And if you would have told me I would have left that company years ago, I'd tell you you're absolutely crazy. But the light bulb finally went off about 4 years ago, and I've been with EXP ever since. I've iconed every year so far. I've been here 4 years, and I'm a new construction guy. So the people out there who need help with new construction or have questions for new construction, I'm the one you want to call.
That is awesome, John. I cannot wait to dive into more of that as we get through this panel because, you know, look, we've had a housing shortage for how many years now? So new construction is something important that needs to come into the market. So we'll dive deeper into that as we get through the panel today. Brian, are we missing Sandy? I'm not seeing her.
You know what? I just spotted Sandy out there in the audience. Sandy, if you want to come up to the stage and put your little avatar in these little chairs up here.
Perfect. Come on up, Sandy.
I've never done this before.
That's
we
okay.
know there's a first time for everything. Yeah, you can click go to and then stage.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, okay.
Cool deal.
All right. Sandy,
awesome.
Tell everyone how long you've been in real estate and how long you've been with EXP.
I've had my license since 1989. I was with Coldwell Banker for 33 years and joined EXP July 4th of 2021. Yeah. No, 2022. Perfect. I'm sorry. It's been like a year and a half. Sorry. Got confused there for a minute. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. And before we go in a little bit deeper, I know John said he specializes in new construction. Sandy, what's your specialty?
You know, just servicing my past clients. I service about 8 counties here. I'm 90% repeat and referral business. So I don't really specialize in anything, honestly. Right now, I'm starting to get my clients, you know, my past clients' children coming to me and that. So my focus is on staying in touch with past customers.
Well, that is perfect, Sandy. And you know what? That's the name of the game, right? If you're out of sight, you're out of your prior client's mind. So you've got to maintain a way to peep into their sight. So that's perfect. And that takes us into our second question that I want to dive into with Jody. Jody, elaborate on the strategies and practices that have facilitated your successful business and why you're an icon today. I guess kind of the secret sauce to your career.
Gosh, well, most of my business, it's past client and referrals. A secret sauce, I guess, just trying to stay in touch. I do have client events that I have. And part of what I realized is that the reason you have those events is simply to give you a reason to call people. And I have to remember that. All right, am I echoing? I feel like I'm echoing.
Hey, Sandy, we're gonna have you stay muted unless you're talking, okay? You'll mute, thank you. All right, go for it, Jody. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, so I do have client events. And what I have realized is that, you know, maybe a lot of people don't come, you know, you might not get a grand turnout, but the point is that you have a reason to call them and you stay in front of them and it gives you a reason to send them out a mailing and you are offering something of value. And so, but I will say, and I guess the other people on the stage, I'm sure, since you guys have been in the business for way longer than me, and I thought 20 years was a long time. You guys have been in it longer. You know, once you get past a certain point, you need a reason to stay in touch with people because they move into their house. You get a huge client base after a while, but it's so easy to lose touch. And so having a plan to stay in touch and just have little touches, and sometimes, you know, you end up just leaving voicemails with people, but I do think that I'd like to think that it does have an impact. And every once in a while, I'll get a call from someone that says, hey, we want to list our house. And I might not have actually spoken with them for several years. which is embarrassing, but you know, it's just the way it goes, you know?
That's right. Well, and I think too, you know, going back to, I've been in the business 25 years, a lot of repeat business. And the more I'm in front of people, whether it's a newsletter they're receiving from me, whether it's an invite to, you know, a party or a get together, you know, whether it's just a simple touch through social media, instant messenger, just something that keeps me in that forefront for them, right? Because we have all made the mistakes. And I think I made this really early on in my career that I wasn't staying in touch with people. And the next thing I find out, you know, at the grocery store, that they've bought another home or they've bought a real estate property or an investment. And I'm like, what? You did what? And they go, we totally forgot about you. Look, guys, number one rule to this business and any sales industry is we're all forgettable, right? So remember to make sure that you are rememberable. And the only way to do that is to have a touch system. And, you know, I love the fact that here at EXP, on the EXP Realty residential side, you are provided KV Core, because even if you just load every client or past client into that system, you can build a monthly touch, you know, to those clients. It doesn't have to be, let me list your house, or are you ready to buy a new property, or are you ready to move? It could be very simple. You know, things to do to take care of their home, depending on the season that we're in and so forth. John, I want to dive deeper into the new construction aspect. You know, one, how did you get into that new construction business? Are you working with tract builders, custom builders? Kind of give us an insight into that.
That could be a pretty boring story. I started in this business as a teenager. My father was a builder, and I used to have to, in early teens, I used to be just a laborer for the company and do all the little things. But then when I was in high school, I would leave, I'd say my junior year and my senior year, I would leave high school 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I would go sit in one of my father's models until 8 o'clock at night, because back then, new construction models were open from 1 to 7 or 8 o'clock at night. After doing this for many, many years, my father's business moved on, and I became very well known with other builders in the area because I moved some of my expertise into the purchase of land and helping other builders get property from developers, or helping developers find property that we buy from farmers and things like that. So I've seen this business from the raw land all the way up through the finished product. We've sold the land, or went out and bought the land from the farmer. The developer developed the land. Then it went to the developer needing to sell the lots to the builders, and then the builders coming in that I sold the lots to needing a salesperson to help them go forward and sell their property. So I've been there through every aspect of it. I would say new construction is an area of real estate, unfortunately, possibly that you can either live or die by, because unless you're working for a builder that has multiple properties or multiple locations, it can be a very tough thing. Unless you're incorporating some of your resale with your new build. For me, and it's been years since I've incorporated the resale aspect of it, only for certain people that come along that have been past clients for a while. I'll help them do what they need done. But mainly, I'm that new construction guy. You walk into a model for the company I represent, and I'm the one you see, and I'm the one you're going to spend the next today's world 9 to 12 months with.
Amazing. So, John, let me ask you, since you don't get on the resale side of things, are you just referring those out to other agents in your market with EXP, or?
Yes, that's how I kind of started in the business many years ago. That's how I met a lot of people in this business. I would have some pretty aggressive salespeople come to me, and I don't mean aggressive in a bad way, just that they constantly came back, so that was good. and develop friendships. And we would, or I would give them the referral of somebody came to buy a house from me and they needed a house to sell. I would refer them to that person that I had been working with for a while. I still do that today, unless things are a little bit slower and I have a little bit more time on my hand. And then I'll help that person sell their current home to get into a new home, depending on the timeline that we are in at the point that they came walking through the model, because they could have either bought a spec that was partially done, fully done, or they want to buy a house that they can customize and build from the ground up. So that's where I mean where the time frame they come in at.
Wonderful. All right, now we're going to dive deep, because we've all been in this real estate business for quite some time, 20 plus years, all of us. So Jody, I'm going to start with you. If you could start over and do it all over again, what would you do differently in your real estate career?
Wow. I would try to develop systems earlier on. I was in the business for, it was 10 years before I even realized I had so much business that I needed an assistant. I mean, I thought it was just normal to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I thought that was normal. And I was horrible at delegating. And so I wished that I would have had some training and systems that I developed that I was consistent with early on, particularly with a touch system. And so when 10 years into the business, when I thought, maybe I do need to get an assistant, and, people would ask me, well, what's the job description? I looked at them blankly, and my response was, well, if there's a problem, you just take care of it. There was no system. You know what I mean? Just systems as far as, like, I was chasing my tail constantly, and I was doing that just for a long period of time, and I wasn't with a team or anything. And so I just was playing whack-a-mole constantly for way too long. And I wished that I would have had better systems in place way earlier, because the first 10 years of my career was, I was successful and I had a lot of business, but I feel like I could have been so much more productive and efficient by having set those systems up earlier. And I'm still working on establishing them. And I've got people to help me now, but I wish I would have started that a lot earlier.
Absolutely. I feel you there. I think so many of us get into the business and we're not sure, right, if it's even going to work out, and so we don't pre-plan for those things. But look, if you've got the will, you've got the grit, and you know how to grind, you're going to be successful. So get those systems in place while you still have the time to do so. So great advice. Sandy, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Well, probably several things. I would have joined EXP a lot sooner, right? No, but yeah, the assistant thing, I have to reiterate that. I've had my current assistant for 12 years now, and I have done so much more business with her than I did previously. She has really helped propel me. Like, there's no way I could I sell about 65 or 70 houses a year, and I couldn't even probably do half of that if it wasn't for her. And the systems too were never in place pretty much until she came along. Just working smarter, not harder, has kind of been my philosophy here since I came to EXP. I was working, and I still work a lot of hours, but just a focus on increasing my average sale price has made a huge difference, and just kind of continual self-improvement is kind of a focus of mine. I listen to a lot of audiobooks that help me keep my mindset good, and every year I've continued to improve. So I wish I would have embraced that at a younger age. I got my license when I was 19 and didn't have a whole heck of a lot of self-confidence at that point. So it's just been a continual improvement process, and just as soon as you think you know it all about this business, somebody proves you wrong.
That is right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. John, if you had it to do all over again, what would you do differently?
I hate to piggyback on both of the young ladies who just got done speaking, but I would say the same thing, really. If I could have brought on more of an assistant in the beginning, or at least a quarter of the way through my career, it would have made a big difference. I would have probably been more apt to do resale for my past clients. And if not, I'd always have that past client that I could refer to somebody. But that's hard in my side of the business, because if I took a past client in a new construction side and I was too busy to sell their home, and I hate those words, too busy, but you got to have a life too. If I was busy in that aspect and I referred it out to a great realtor that I worked with or knew real well, well, now they move over to that person's database, because you're not going to really get them back depending on who that realtor is. I would say that the assistant is a must. Systems is a must, so that you can stay in touch. I guess it's just hard because I'm in a majorly different aspect of real estate compared to someone who concentrates on resale. I do a lot of new construction. I'm not bragging in any way. I'm very well known here in Michigan in the east side for new construction. So my business has always been good. It's had its ups and downs.
What part of Michigan are you?
I'm on the east side of the state, so I'm about 40 miles outside of Detroit. I'm in the Macomb area. So Macomb Township, Michigan, I'd say about 10, 15 years ago, used to be between Macomb Township, Michigan, and Las Vegas, Nevada. We were the two parts of the United States that were selling more homes than anywhere else in the entire United States. We were always battling for the #1 position. So everything that I've done is here in the Macomb area is, I hate to say, watching the farmland go away and become residential communities of small and large sizes.
That is awesome. But also too, it doesn't matter what line of business we're in, whether it's new construction, residential resale, or even commercial real estate. I too have regretted early on in my career not setting up even the simple database, right? That's the big mistake we all make. We get so busy and we always say we're going to do it one day, and then here we are 10 years into our career when we finally get it done. And so keeping track of all those clients, customers, and even potential customers is truly how you build that sustainable business. And it took me, I've been in the business 25 years, it took me almost a decade to figure that out, right? To put it all in a CRM. And there's no excuse when you're at EXP, because, hey, they give us this amazing CRM, and just to keep track of everything among everything else that it does. So that's amazing. But yeah, a lot of weaknesses here from 4 ICON agents, right? And we all had shared that same exact weakness that we would do over. So now we're going to move into, we're not going to use the same answer, okay, you all? We're going to move into, what was the biggest mistake you've ever made in the real estate business, and how did you overcome it? Sandy, can we start with you?
Hi, sorry, I'm in my car. The biggest mistake, I hate to call it a mistake because I feel like there are no mistakes. It's all just kind of a learning process that we go through. But I joined a team about 12 years ago, whenever the recession was. I guess it was maybe 2009. And I just kind of allowed myself to get swallowed up into that, and I lost my identity, and I'll never know what I've been. You know, and maybe I would have fallen flat on my face. I don't know. But since leaving that team a year and a half ago, I've really flourished. And, you know, I hate change. So I tend to avoid change. And so I learned through that I shouldn't be so hesitant to change things up because it leads to growth.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's all I can really think of.
All right, Jody, what's that biggest mistake that you've made in your business, and how did you overcome it?
I would say, looking back, I think someone's not muted.
Sandy, if you'll mute,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
I'm sorry, Jody.
Okay, I know, I think we're good now. Thank you. When you're starting out, and as you're starting in the business, you work with a lot more buyers, typically. It was for me. I think that's the case with most agents as they're starting. You're typically working with more buyers than sellers. And having those conversations to make sure you're not wasting your time. So when you're starting out and you're just ecstatic just to have a client, and someone might call, I mean, this is back when we were doing floor time, if anyone knows what that is, where you're just, you know, you've got the phone at the main office, and if someone calls, that's your potential lead, and someone asks about a property, and you're like, hey, I can be there in an hour. And there was no protocol or no system in place. And I think to some extent that still has started, but I think within the last 5 years, I've gotten a lot better at having buyer consultations up front, and having buyers sign exclusive buyer agency agreements. That was something that probably for the first 15 years of my career. Now, I think, you know, the first 5 years you get burned a lot by just being that, what they call the Pop-Tart agent, where you just, you know, you don't even ask questions, you just meet them at the property, which is dangerous now, it seems like. But I suppose those mistakes, and I wish that I would have implemented that protocol earlier, and even started the exclusive buyer agency agreement conversation earlier. It was a mistake to not have some of those difficult conversations up front. And I think agents sort of shy away from it because it's an opportunity to get rejected, essentially, if they don't want to sign your document, or they just want to see the house. And how do you have that conversation to make sure you're not wasting time? So I would say that was probably one of the bigger mistakes that I made, you know, earlier.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, and that's the thing. So many of us just believe, or we hope and we wish and we dream that just because we're consulting with a client that they're going to stay our client, right? And you just can't assume that. And especially with the changes, you know, that have happened in the residential real estate industry, you know, now it's even more important for you to have that conversation and get that buyer exclusive agreement. And I love, Jody, that you were doing that even before this became an issue, because we need to, you know, in the commercial real estate world, that's not ever been unheard of. We've always had to do that if we wanted to ensure payment, right? And so, you know, you need to be able to present that, because each and every one of you are valuable, right? You have knowledge that client needs. And for that comes a contract of commitment, right? And a contract of compensation. So Jody, I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that is such a great topic for us. Absolutely. John, what mistake did you make that you, you know, early on that you wish you didn't?
That's tough for my side. If I go back to the resale part of it, because there are times in my life when I wasn't just selling new construction, I would say it was the representation part, or having that conversation and getting that buyer's agency signed, or buyer's representation signed, because people would go to you, and unbeknownst to you, they'd be talking to this person or that person. So things like that would happen. And I used to get pretty scattered. I would go anywhere. Oh, just like the last young lady said, that Pop-Tart agent, hey, I'm going to go out here and do this, and then I'm going to go in that direction and do that. Until a friend of mine one day said, it's time to look at the price of home you are selling and concentrate into a specific area. Meaning, if you knew you were selling X amount of homes per year, and you didn't want to have to sell more, or didn't need to sell more, but you wanted a better income out of it, you had to bring that sale price up. And I learned many, many, many years ago that after struggling by jumping around, that once I concentrated in a specific price range for a specific area, things really changed. I didn't have to sell a huge amount of houses. I just had to keep doing the job I normally do, but working with a client at a different price. Way back when, that price was a whole $150,000 per sale, where now today, in my new construction side, my average price is 480, 500, 600, in that type of price range. So I think my biggest mistake was not paying enough attention in the very beginning, but thankfully somebody gave me some guidance and said, do this and do it in this area. And that made a big difference, number one. Number two, going back to where I say talking about agency, agency, when I'll tell you that at one point I had 4 builders trying to buy a subdivision. And before they made a decision, everybody backed away because there was no decision that could be made. The developer was being very difficult. And one of the 4 went back and made a deal with the developer on his own and bought 30 lots, about 30 lots. And at that time, I was being paid about $1,000 a lot. So I was out of about $30,000 in commission until I went back through my paperwork and found, luckily, that I had agency signed and a contract with all 4 builders signed. And I took it to my attorney. My attorney took it to court, and I ended up getting that money for that one builder who decided to go and backdoor me because he still wanted in the project, where the other builders decided to back away. So I know that was a roundabout answer. You.
No, that's important though, and that's phenomenal. That's a $30,000 corrected, and that happens, right? I mean, unfortunately, it happens in this world. The handshakes are not what hold up in court, but that paperwork certainly does. So good for you, John. That's awesome. All right, so I want to go into and talk about mentorship. We've all been in the business a very long time. I didn't start at EXP. I've been in the business 25 years, and, I never had an opportunity to have a mentor. And that's kind of why I fumbled and struggled, the first couple of years in the business, just making those mistakes and learning from the mistakes so that I could win, on the next deal. And so, Sandy, did you have that mentor early on in your career?
No, I really didn't. It wasn't a thing really back. Just I've watched with the other tried to get more successful, get my career off the ground because I lacked the self. I didn't even own my own house, so
Sandy, you've got a horrible connection and it's not coming through. So I'm going to pause you. Go ahead and mute. Maybe you'll get back into better service and we'll move on to Jody. Jody, did you have that opportunity to have a mentor?
I really didn't. I mean, there were always people that I would reach out to for advice, and they would typically give it. I know that when I first started, and it was at a smaller boutique brokerage when it was before I went to Remax, but there was one agent who was like the agent. Everyone, like he was the one that did all the relocation for the big companies and things like that. And I think someone's not muted. Hello? Okay, that's better. And so I remember going to that agent and asking if I could go with him on a listing appointment. And it was a little bit of a dance, like, if I think about it, or, like it was very clear that I was not wanted at that appointment. And there was another agent that was not quite as experienced who allowed me to go with her on her listing appointments, just so that I could just be an observer and learn. And but I remember during that time, the entire time during that listing appointment, her phone she never muted her phone, and her phone went off every 10 seconds during the meeting. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if the point was to try to make the potential seller feel like she's really important, that her phone is ringing off the hook kind of thing. But, it was one of those things, like, that was one thing. So I went with her. I don't really know if I consider her a mentor long-term, but I remember that experience of thinking during that appointment that that's something that I didn't want to do. And I came to that conclusion on my own. But no, I never really had someone that I could go to, like sometimes that's why people might join a team and have that protection, that sort of family style, way of helping the group or anything like that. I never really had that opportunity, and it may have been my own fault. I should have probably, I would say that might have been one of my bigger mistakes, because when you're starting out, it's much easier to do that when you're starting out than when you're, several years into the business. I mean, I'm 20 years into the business, and I am sure there are still things I can learn from everybody. But to go and say, hey, would you be my mentor? After you've been in the business, you're expected to kind of know everything. And when you're just starting out, it's a lot easier to do that. So don't underestimate the power of going to someone who is successful to say, might you be willing to take me under your wing? I know that if someone did that to me, I would be very flattered and would really want to help them.
Absolutely. And I think, before we get to John on the same topic, this is what I love about being part of EXP. One of the big reasons, I mean, we have so many reasons to be a part of EXP, right? But this is a big piece for me, because I know what it's like to get into the business, be 2 years in and really, I was making money, but I wasn't utilizing the full aspect of what I was capable of doing because I didn't have that mentorship. And I think every brokerage that I was at prior to, like you, Jody, the first person you approached, they didn't really want you tagging along. They didn't want to give you those trade secrets. And here at EXP, the mentor program is so stellar, because not only do you have that personal touch, you've also got that classroom setting, but you also have nearly 90,000 business partners that all have ownership in this company, that if you all are winning, I'm winning, and vice versa. And that's what makes the collaboration at EXP so far superior than any other brokerage, because that's what I found. I owned another brand prior to being at EXP, and I could never get my top agents in the company to get on a stage and take part in an icon conversation, right? I could never get them to share. They didn't want to breed competition in their own neighborhoods, right? And so it was very difficult to get that kind of sharing. But that's why we're all here is, and majority of people that are watching this and that are in this audience, they want to learn from us. They want to know, well, how did these agents icon? How are they at this level? And that's why they show up here to learn. And we're here freely, willingly, and wanting give them that advice. So I love it. I love that. I think that's something that's overlooked with EXP a lot, but that mentor program is so, so important. And very few brokerages even have anything. They don't have anything close to it. That's for certain. John, did you have a mentor in the business?
I would say yes, not on the new construction side, but definitely on the resale side way back when. Because there are times when you're not always going to sell new construction because it's a very crazy world. But the one gentleman who used to come to my model and ask me about my resales, we had become good friends. And I'd say about 4 years after I had met him, I wanted to walk away from the new construction side for a while because it was getting tedious and things were slower as well. So it was a little bit on the boring side. So I went to this person and I sat down and I talked to them for a little bit. And he actually, that day, I just went to get lunch, asked him if he wanted to go to lunch because I wasn't having a great day. And he went and got his 2 broker partners and brought them into the office and said, this is John DiPiazza. He's going to work here from now on. Well, that was the beginning. That was the first day because I never left from there of 25 years at Remax. So the mentorship side of it was, he was the one who showed me how to get my volume average sale price up. He was the one who showed me how to stay in contact more so, at least a few times a year with the people. He was the one who took me on my first few, I'd say 2 or 3 interviews with a seller. And then he just looked at me and said, dude, you don't need me to do this for you. You can do this. You've been doing this a long period of time, and happen to have the personality that people would like on the real estate side. So he, as a mentor, he was there for me all the way through. We've been friends now for 33 years, and he's still somebody. He's retired out of the business now. He's a little bit older than me, but he's still somebody that I can go to for a question. And it's a great feeling. There's got to be somebody out there, and it doesn't have to just be one person. There could be 2 or 3 people that could be part of your mentorship, and mentorship is definitely a great thing to have in the real estate business.
Absolutely. And I mean, look at the value that he put into your career that keeps continuing, pay, grow, and scale your business. I mean, see, that's what it's all about right there. And you're right. Surround yourself with a couple or 3 or 4, right? Everybody's got a different specialty, so to speak, or everybody, lead generates a different way or utilizes social media. That's what I love too about this diverse group of rockstar agents here at EXP is that you can really master anything you want because you can tune into a workplace and get 50 new ideas in 15 minutes, right? I mean, look at how much is there, If YouTube's where it is and you want to be the next YouTube realtor, then you have a way to learn how to do that right now, right? And it's amazing to me. I mean, that there is so big. And if we could all, so if I could do it all over, it would have been to convince Glenn to have founded eXp Realty in 1999 when I got into real estate. So we would have had all this greatness way back when, right? We'd be so much further along. So totally amazing. Okay, so the market's been a little bit different in 2023. It's going to be a little bit different in 2024. Inventory is still low. Rates are still higher than what we've been used to. What are you guys doing this year differently? Stay in touch with those past clients or gain new clients because of the conditions of the economy. Sandy, are you back?
I'm here.
Perfect.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, you sound great. Yes, you sound great.
Okay, good. I hadn't really thought of doing anything differently. I mean, it's regarding the rates, you know, there's a saying here in Cincinnati, marry the house, not the rate, you know, can always refinance, that kind of thing. I am planning on continuing to have client events. I have about 3 a year. And one is focused on a charity called New Life Furniture Bank, where people drop off donations for people who are just getting on their feet again. That's one thing. Then I have an event for clients' kids in the fall, a little pumpkin painting thing, and then of course a Christmas party. So for me, you know, it is all about just staying in touch with people on a consistent basis. But I probably should think about changing it up and doing something a little bit different. But I just started doing that stuff since I joined EXP. I never did client events on my own prior to that. So I'm just kind of starting to create my own new little world. And it seems to be working what I'm doing, but I'm always open to new ideas.
Hey, look, the more we learn, the more we earn. Have y'all ever heard that saying? Remember that. The more you learn, the more you earn, and it's never too late to implement new strategies into your business. Jody, are you going to be doing anything different for 2024?
You know, for me, I have my resolution, so to speak. This is what I've been focusing on. I guess it's that time of year, is focusing on being very consistent with myself and my routines and trying to make them automatic. So something that kind of has gotten me on track. So over the last 6 months, I started a new eating plan that I've really been staying on track with and developing really good habits. And you know, eating 6 times a day, and I basically have, you know, a little alarm set to tell me when to eat, and it becomes very automatic because I don't have to think about it. And so along with that, I've been starting to bundle my habits. Habit bundling, it's a thing. By the way, Atomic Habits is the book that it's become like my Bible. But part of what I want 2024 to be is, because everybody wants to make more money, read more books, do all of the things. But what I'm trying to focus on is the basic building blocks on a daily basis of when I get up, what does my day look like? And time blocking has always been very difficult for me. I mean, I'll put it in my calendar. You guys know, you put it in the calendar, you got the best of intentions, and then someone calls and there's some quote unquote crisis or some fire, you know, and suddenly, you know, you're off your game and you're not doing your calls or doing whatever was automatic, what you were supposed to do. And so for me, what I want to try to do differently is focus on my daily routine, because that is something that I can control. And I do feel as though if I'm able to control that the other things, more business, stronger relationships, learning more things will come automatically as a result of trying to focus on those basic building blocks. That's kind of and also I've been reading The Atomic Habits by James Clear. That's been sort of my book that is kind of been my Bible. So that's my 2024 plan, if you will.
I love it. I love it because, you know, sometimes the longer we're in the business, or at least for me, sometimes I just fall out of those habits that I schedule and it makes me money, right? That's how I build my business. But sometimes we just get a little bit too comfortable. And so it's always great to take that first part of the year to reset and get back into the consistency and those habits that are necessary, even for our own wellness and health, right? So that's amazing, well, Jody. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and I'll go on to say, like, even like as far as sleep, because when I'm trying to automate things, but what I will absolutely say is when I am tired and I'm not feeling well, I will not make good decisions. I mean, and that comes to eating or, it's just you do this, you slough off, you're tired, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, whatever it is. So optimizing your body to eat healthy and get sleep and take care of yourself, like including self-care as part of that routine, is super important. And what I've discovered as I've, kind of had some success with my weight loss is that when I am better and I feel better, I'm a better version of myself to be better for other people. And I become so much more beneficial, not only to myself, but everyone around me. And so don't underestimate like those, like getting sleep and rest, because we all think like, oh, that, sleep is for sissies or whatever, we all have to work like 14 hours a day. Otherwise we're not, good or whatever. And it's kind of crap because it's like society tells you like, we just work, work, work. And trying to have that balance is really important. So don't underestimate the power of resting your body as well.
Love that. And you're so right, because when I'm cranky, I'm negative. But when I'm at my best in health and sleep and all of those things and consistently in a habit and a routine, I am so positive. And that helps in negotiation. It helps land deals. It helps land listings, all of those things. So
100%.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
John, tell us about yours. Anything
Well,
you're going to do differently?
I don't want to say it would be do differently. I would say go back to doing on the new construction side. One of the things that you said was falling out of the habits.
Yeah.
Can't fall out of a habit, because in my business, in the new construction world, I need to know who offers what, how they do it, what their prices are, and so on, so that because they're my competition. So when I'm talking and trying to help build the dream of new construction for a buyer when they come through, I need to know that two things. One, because they're either going to tell you or they're not going to tell you. The competition, they're out there, that they visited other places. So you have to have the proper, polite way to talk about your competition without seeming like a know-it-all, or you're downing that competition, because I don't want to down them because they know me, I know them. But to get into the habit that I may have lost is more visits, more getting to know my competition again. When this breaks loose, if this breaks loose by the interest rates going down and things going up, it's going to be crazy. New construction is definitely going to be a huge player that it has always been. And we have inventory issues just like resale. But with where prices are in homes today, a lot of people will tend to come to the new construction side because they're getting a new home, new product for the price. So for me, it's best to know anything and everything I can about my competition. And that's the habit I need to get back into.
Love it. Love it. Love it. That is awesome. Well, I can tell all four of us absolutely love that we're at EXP. And if you think back to when you first joined EXP, what did you do first? And what is the most important thing for any new agent to do when joining? Sandy?
When I first joined, I was really busy and did not really learn the systems very well. It was extremely chaotic. So I would just set aside time to learn the systems better. Thank God for my assistant, or I would still be trying to figure stuff out. I mean, I still feel like there's so much I need to learn. So that would be my biggest thing, is just, and there's so much that EXP offers. I feel like I am never going to absorb all of it, but I guess we don't have to. But yeah, just learning the systems and how to do everything up front quicker.
Absolutely. Jody?
I do echo Sandy in that I don't know if I'll ever learn all the things. But I will say I really leaned into my upline to get a better understanding. And at the time that I joined at the absolute worst time. It wasn't when I expected. I had always my plan was to change, during December or January when it's typically a little bit slower. But I decided to make this change on April 1st of 2022. And it basically was the realization that, I had all of these new listings that were coming my way and 12 deals in the pipeline at Remax, and figuring out, oh my gosh, like I realized how much money I was leaving on the table by paying Remax and all the money that I'd given to Remax all of those years, and that I wanted some ownership. And I'm like, I need to start building my pipeline for my, for my icon status and getting that going. And so it was basically this overnight, like, oh my gosh, I can't waste another second at Remax. And so I made this jump at a time where I was like in between deals, and my assistant, thank God for her, was able to wrap up the other deals. But as I had all of these other deals that I wanted to make sure I had listing contracts and buyer contracts written on EXP contracts, I was so busy that I didn't have time to even figure out what EXP, like all of the benefits of EXP, because at that point I was turning the crank and just on the treadmill of trying to manage expectations of clients and having those conversations of like, hey, I'm leaving this brokerage and I'm coming here, come with me, kind of thing. It was not a good time so it wasn't until like probably 6 or 8 months in that I'm like trying to come to the realization of what all is here? Like, I didn't even know what I had, even 6 months into the process, and I'm still learning those things. So I'm not sure if I'm asking I don't know if I answered the question. I guess there's still a lot that I'm learning, and I really sort of leaned into my upline for guidance to make sure I was doing all the things I needed to be doing.
Absolutely. No, and that's a great answer. And I'm going to say that was the best time for you to move, right, Jody? It was the best time for you to move, even though it was stressful because you had so much business. But that's when you've got to make moves, people. So don't let deals or too much in your pipeline hold you back into jumping into ownership. Because, look, every single brokerage, the agents do 100% of the work. They don't get anything in return, right? But the rental of a name. Here, we do all that work, and now you're sitting on stage as an icon with the opportunity to have that $16,000 you paid into EXP back in your stock account. That is huge, and I'm very grateful you made the move when you did, because if you hadn't, that'd all be sitting at Remax, and you wouldn't see one penny of it. So good for you. Good for you. John?
For me, it's a little different. When I joined EXP, I think just after I signed the paperwork, I had a stroke, and I was a very, very healthy person, so nobody could understand why I had this stroke. So luckily, I'm good today. Everything is fantastic. But the reason I say that is because I have to fall back on what a couple of people have already said. When I came in, I had to hit the ground running, because as I moved my way out of that stroke, I had to make sure that my business was still flowing the way it should, and be able to service my customers in the new construction world without missing a beat. For a little while there, I had to have help. But when I got back into it, everything was good. But I didn't get into the EXP world enough. There's so much knowledge here that I have missed out on my own fault, I guess you would say, because of the fact that I started out in a different position than everybody else. But there's so much here at EXP that would never be at, and then there's a couple that use that crazy word Remax. There's none of that there. It's all right here. If I could have joined this company sooner, and a friend of mine worked on me for a couple years before I actually came to it, my biggest mistake was not coming the minute I heard the name EXP. So I can't tell you that I've answered the question correctly, but
no, you have, John. That was awesome, and I'm so glad that everything turned out to be, okay. That goes back to the health and habits. We don't understand. It might have been stress, who knows? But glad that you're healthy and sitting here with us today, and still a rock star real estate agent for sure. I think this has been amazing. I know, Brian, we're probably coming up on time, but I want to answer this question too, because, the thing about EXP is you've heard it from all three of them. You're going to hear it from me. There is so much opportunity at this company, so much opportunity. I always say to a new agent that asks me about EXP that is not here yet, I said, listen, you can't make a living at EXP. You're not going to make a living in real estate. All right, that's the thing. It's the clear choice. Brian just put it in the chat. Workplace. I equate workplace to our cash register. I mean, look at the connectivity there. Look at the referrals that are up on those screens every second of the day. It is tremendous. 73% of my business, and why I stand on this stage as an ICON agent, 73% of it came from referrals. Referrals from my business partners right here at EXP. So one, I want everyone to always, new agents, I want them to get engaged as quickly as they can into the platform. I want them to come into this world and experience how easy it is to get something done. I have agents that'll reach out to me and say, Stephanie, I'm having an issue with this. And I'm like, have you been inside the world? Have you gone to that department? Come on, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to meet you. That's what this company is about. It is agent success obsessed. We're the owners, we're the creators, we are the builders of it. And if you're not winning at EXP Realty, you're not going to win in real estate at all. That's the whole thing here. So many opportunities. Get to networking events. Again, 73% of my business and why I'm an icon is from referrals from agents across this country, and actually across multiple countries since we're so global. That's the opportunity here. My very first broker said, Stephanie, you dream too big. And I walked right out the door because I did not want him to put into my mind that dreaming big was a bad thing. I wish EXP had been around back then, because I would have been a lot bigger, right? But here you can dream big and you can make it happen. That's what EXP is. So thank you all so much for participating today. Thank you all for being phenomenal panelists. And Brian, I hope we did you well. Thanks everyone for listening.
I want to thank you all for joining us today on stage. You know what, Stephanie, this is all about the power of positive thinking. A lot of people say, what you think you become. So if you think you're great, you're going to be great. If you think you're not great, or you're not dreaming big, or you have someone in your life telling you not to dream big, take the trash out where it belongs. I totally agree. All right, y'all.
Love it, you all.
We will see you here next Friday. If you are watching this on YouTube, smash that like button. Stephanie, everyone on the stage, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye all.
It's been a pleasure.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.